Ombuds office or other kinds of agencies that could be watching this and then bring claims.
So I don't mean to belabor this, but in Missouri, the Supreme Court makes the rules for the court system in Missouri. So why does the Supreme Court not have the authority to make rules that have ability to stick in municipal courts as well as circuit courts?
Yeah, they do.
Of course they do.
Right, but then who enforces it, right? So it's my 16-year-old client who's then forced to try to bring a claim on my $5,000 clinic budget and the student's leaving for summer.
But the kind of litigation you're providing.
I guess the point is, if the people in the state were going to do something about it, they would have already done it, right? I mean, like, there's a reason we're here, and in part, it's because this stuff's been going on for a long time, and it is very unlikely. The actions you're talking about are very unlikely to come from people who are in power and benefit from the system the way it is. It's not like the system's broken. It works how it's supposed to work. I mean.
So we'll continue the questions from the commissioners, but I'll reinforce, and now we have a narrowed, excuse the language, narrowed targets on this statement. But what we called for last week and what we invited, and I say this interestingly enough, between Monday's meeting last week and Monday's meeting this week, our city defenders and others filed this action, or we saw notice of this action around municipal court fines and fees. So with thanks for that action, we'll renew the call. Amen. With thanks for that action, I'm just going to specify the statement we asked for last week. We invited any state authority, any state officials with authority to act in this space around municipal courts, fines, and fees, particularly where we know there is excess, and we know there are at least 8 municipalities that do so. We now know that perhaps it is the Director of Revenue, perhaps it is the State Auditor, perhaps it's the Attorney General. So now we'll just say, whomever in these 3 offices has the authority to act, we invite you to act on behalf of the people, and not, I'll just leave it there. So we'll invite whatever officers have authority to act as our city defenders has acted already, to enforce the law that is on the books, specifically as it relates to those municipalities who are already above the 30%.
I want to say, sorry, one other quick thing, and I only say this to call attention to just how widespread some of the unlawful practices are. The 7 lawsuits that we filed with SLU Law and Campbell Law Office don't have anything to do with the statute you just talked about. It's another separate unlawful practice of charging fees that are not authorized by state law. That's what we allege. Again, the court will find that out. That's what we allege. I mean, there's litigation go on for 10 years around the things that have been going on here. And the other thing, Dave, you should say.
One of the other things that we looked at and was discussed was also the potential for a school district who maybe should have benefited from some of that excess revenue coming forward and challenging that as well.
I've got a quick question I wanted to ask to the law professor at Washington University. I'm interested. Hi, I'm sorry for your name.
Please call me Meg.
Meg. Recommendation number 9 for you in the short term was grant amnesty right now! Exclamation point. How feasible is that? How practically could that be done? How can we help to recommend that happen?
I wrote to the mayor of Ferguson twice in conjunction with various youth advocates around the community asking for that at least to occur in Ferguson. I got no well, first I wasn't permitted to testify because we ran out of time, but I got no response to that letter. I think it's very feasible. I think, there are amnesty programs that take place around the county that are not real amnesty programs all the time, that charge people money. I don't know where that money is going, frankly, but I see no reason why it couldn't happen right now, especially when I said in my letter, it's not only the right thing to do, it's the legally expedient thing to do in light of the past deprivations and legal claims that potentially lie for young people who've had all these pleas taken from them with no lawyers, not intelligently, knowingly, or voluntarily.
Thank you. May I have another, or anyone, to grant amnesty? Do y'all have any idea what the ballpark is on that number right now? How much money are we talking about?
I don't know what the number is, but I mean, the last numbers we saw, there were 411,000 outstanding warrants in St. Louis County for a town of just under 1 million people. So I don't know what cases, are attached to all those warrants, but it'd be a big number.
All right. And then the last thing I think to Starsky and Rich, I mean, I know we just called for leaders, auditors, director of revenue, AG. Does that mean we're drafting a letter and sending it to them, or is that minutes? I mean, tell me how we go from that to something in there.
I think if what I'm hearing is a sense of the commission that we need to beef. Last week it was a statement of the co-chairs. Now we're going to beef it up, and I think we followed with some pretty strong phone calls and push from different commission members and others in the community that we asked for, because this is, I think, I hear your point, Thomas. If this, this should have been done years and years ago, it hasn't been done. Why isn't it being done? We need to call for action much more stringently. Are the other commissioners have a question? Tracy?
I have a question for you and Starsky. Is it possible for us to request to have them at our next meeting on Monday? Is that possible?
We're not meeting on Monday, but it is certainly possible.
The next meeting that we meet, is it possible that we issue a personal invitation requesting that they come and meet with us in this setting?
Certainly. Thank you, Rose, and then Felicia.
I just have one more question, May, for you. So 2 bills were mentioned. They're both Senate bills. Wallingford's bill, which deals with the age of juveniles, the definitional age, and the second one is Eric Schmidt's bill. So knowing what I know about how long it takes to pass legislation at the state level, I'm fully appreciative and supportive of those bills, but is there anything we can do locally to change any of these policies municipal-wide, across all municipalities?
So right now, for instance, a very simple measure, right? In conjunction with the municipal councils, the municipal police departments could engage in better practices around policing youth. And they could have a practice of every first encounter is a warning. Every young person who is encountered on the train without fare is put off the train and not prosecuted. We, as you know, we met with Metro officials months ago about this, my students and I, and talked with them about the problem. I will say, they said they didn't know the extent of the problem of young people being prosecuted in the warrants. I refer to the kids as kids living under the bridge. They hide out with multiple warrants just for $2 train fare warrants. And they were not willing at that time to agree not to prosecute, but to consider possible further conversations. I repeatedly reached out after that with no response, and then Michael Brown was shot. Things did not continue, the conversation didn't continue.
Felicia?
In terms of losing jurisdiction over your municipal court, I'm out of compliance. One of these people that we've identified as possibly having authority to enforce the law enforces the law. Do I just re-establish a court under a different, some different municipal legislation, or what does that look like? I want my court back. What does that look like?
So the law actually doesn't provide any sort of situation for that to happen. That's not to say it couldn't happen. And again, we're kind of dealing with a situation that we haven't even gotten to the enforcement part yet. So there's no examples to look at either. It's certainly something that could use some clarity, because I would suspect that if you just take jurisdiction away from a day, that's probably not going to be too large of a deterrent. But as for the specifics on that, it's unclear for the statute.
So we would want to assure that something like that is addressed while we're moving into enforcement. Some of the what ifs. Okay.
I think they reestablish jurisdiction once they file the report. And I also want to be clear that they don't. It's written in a way that suggests that they would only lose jurisdiction over traffic-related matters, not housing code violations and things like that. So they don't cease to operate as a court. But again, it's not clear what that would actually mean. You'd be a judge on a housing code violation, but not on a speeding ticket. It's really not exactly clear. That's our position, is that they would have lost their jurisdiction to to impose fines and make decisions on traffic-related matters during the period